after 66 years, the mystery surrounding the death of actor Tyrone Power has finally been solved. Warning about a deadly disease. First, imagine you are in the 1950s, when Hollywood glittered with stars like Clark Gable or Errol Flynn. Tyrone Power was one of them, with a radiant smile and an appearance that made women swoon. But behind that glamour was a tragedy. He passed away at the age of 44, right on the film set, after ignoring the doctor's warning about a deadly heart disease. And now, after more than 6 decades, thanks to newly released medical documents and modern genetic research, we finally understand more about that mystery. It was not random, but a combination of family genetics, a stressful lifestyle, and heavy smoking habit. This is a warning to all of us, especially at your age, about listening to our bodies. I remember when I was young, I watched his films and thought he was immortal. But life teaches us that no one is exempt from illness, and ignoring signs can lead to unnecessary tragedy. Let us turn back time to 1914 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Tyrone Power was born into a family with artistic blood flowing strongly. His father, Tyrone Power Sr., was a famous stage and silent film actor of English origin, who made a name for himself in classical plays. Mr. Sr. was not only an actor, but also a symbol of dedication, with roles that required constant travel, leaving him little time with his family. His mother, Helen Emma Riome Power, was a strong woman who followed Roman Catholicism, and she deeply influenced her son's faith and values. She not only taught her child about God, but also about resilience, which Tyrone later applied to his career. He had a sister born in 1915, and the family soon moved to California to pursue the Hollywood dream. But life was not always smooth. His father was often absent due to a busy schedule, creating an emotional void that Tyrone had to fill with his passion for acting. In 1920, his parents divorced, a major shock for the young Tyrone, who was only 6 years old at the time. Mrs. Helen was granted custody of the 2 children, and she raised them in Cincinnati with love and strict guidance, emphasizing Catholic faith to help the children overcome difficulties. I think here we see an early lesson about loss. Tyrone's life began with family pain, but it was that which forged his determination, making him a star later on. Have you ever thought that childhood losses shape us so much? For Tyrone, it was the motivation, but also the seed for later stresses. From a young age, Tyrone was drawn to the stage. His great-grandfather was an Irish comedian active from 1797 to 1841, a humorous man who performed across Europe, bringing laughter to audiences in chaotic times. The family line was connected to big names like actor Laurence Olivier through his great-grandmother Anne Gilbert, who passed on refined artistic genes, writer Evelyn Waugh through his grandmother Ethel Lavenue with profound literary stories, and director Tyrone Guthrie through his cousin Nora Emily Gorman, who founded the Stratford Film Festival in Canada. That is an impressive tree of artists, is it not? It was like a river of art flowing through generations. And Tyrone was the convergence point. Tyrone attended Catholic schools in Cincinnati, where he absorbed not only knowledge but also moral values, helping him maintain his faith throughout life. He graduated from Purcell High School in 1931, and instead of choosing college like many friends, he decided to pursue acting, like his father. This decision was not easy, as it meant giving up stability to dive into the risky world of Hollywood. He moved to Los Angeles, full of hope but also anxiety. And here, a tragedy occurred, marking the first emotional turning point in his life. In 1931, when Tyrone was rehearsing with his father for the film The Miracle Man, a remake of Lon Chaney's film, a dramatic movie about miracles and deception, his father suddenly had a heart attack and died right in his son's arms. That was a painful moment. Dear viewers, Tyrone was only 17 years old, losing his teacher, his father, the one he admired and learned from. I can imagine that pain, a boy holding his father, feeling the last breath, and realizing life can end abruptly. His father had just completed The Big Trail with John Wayne, a promising newcomer, and was preparing for the lead role, but fate took everything away. Tyrone Sr. passed away in December 1931, leaving a huge void. But instead of collapsing, he turned the pain into motivation. He continued pursuing his career, despite being rejected time and again. Many people knew his father, but they rejected him for fear he was not talented enough. He only had a small role in Tom Brown of Culver in 1932, a film about military students with emotional scenes about friendship and maturity. But his role was too small to make an impression. Then he was an extra in Flirtation Walk, a romantic musical about the West Point Military Academy, where he only appeared briefly. Disheartened, he followed his friend Arthur Caesar to New York, performing on Broadway in Romeo and Juliet, where he learned about tragic love. Some Joan, a play about Saint Joan of Arc, teaching him about sacrifice, and Flowers of the Forest, a social play about urban life. These roles honed his skills, but also made him crave success more. And I think here we see Tyrone's perseverance, a quality that at your age we know is the key to all success, even if it comes late. And then luck came unexpectedly. In 1936, director Henry King met Tyrone at a theater party in New York, where artists gathered to exchange ideas. King was impressed by his handsome appearance, radiant smile, and captivating presence. King saw that Tyrone had a natural talent for the big screen and offered him the lead role in Lloyd's of London for Fox, a historical film about the London Insurance Company during the Napoleonic Wars. Initially, the role was for Don Ameche, a stable star, but King and editor Barbara MacLaine convinced boss Darryl Zanuck to take a risk with Tyrone. Zanuck reluctantly agreed, not knowing this would be the start of a long collaboration with 10 more films. The film was a resounding success, turning him from unknown to star. Tyrone emerged with confident demeanor, strong performance, and audiences were mesmerized. He became a box office magnet, starring in a series of diverse films. And I must say, this moment moves me, a young man, losing his father, struggling, then shining. It reminds us that perseverance will be rewarded, but also warns of the pressure that comes with it. Dear viewers, imagine Tyrone was not only handsome, but also multi-talented, an ambitious and determined actor, always giving his all. He starred in romantic comedies like Daytime Wife in 1939, where he played a jealous husband humorously alongside Loretta Young, with funny argument scenes about marriage, and Thin Ice in 1937, a romantic ice skating film with Sonia Henney, where he showed his innate athletic ability. In action, his sword-fighting skills were excellent. Basil Rathbone, a talented swordsman, once praised him as the quickest swordsman I ever faced on camera. He dueled with Errol Flynn in The Mark of Zorro in 1940, a classic film about the knight Zorro, with dramatic sword fights on rooftops and in caves, making audiences thrilled. This film not only succeeded but also influenced culture, with Zorro becoming an icon. He starred in war films like A Yank in the RAF in 1941, where he played an American pilot joining the Royal Air Force, alongside Betty Grable, with flying scenes and wartime romance. Adventure like Black Swan in 1942, a pirate film with fierce sea scenes and sword fights on ships, alongside Maureen O'Hara, where he showed dangerous charm. Drama like Suez in 1938, about building the Suez Canal, with Annabella, who later became his wife. In Old Chicago in 1938, recreating the 1871 Chicago fire, with intense fire scenes and brotherly bonds. Blood and Sand in 1941, about bullfighters, where he learned real bullfighting to embody the role. The Rains Came in 1939, about floods in India, with Myrna Loy, and Son of Fury, the story of Benjamin Blake in 1942, an adventure film about inheritance and revenge. Musicals like Alexander's Ragtime Band in 1938, honoring Irving Berlin's music, with over 20 songs, Rose of Washington Square in 1939 about singer Fanny Brice, and Second Fiddle in 1939 with Sonia Henney. He was even loaned to MGM for Marie Antoinette in 1938, playing a supporting role alongside Norma Shearer. But this angered Zanuck because the Fox boss saw his star being demeaned and vowed not to loan him again. These films not only brought success but also showed Tyrone's versatility, from romance to action, making him a legend. But I ponder, that dedication was also a burden, contributing to his declining health later. And at your age, we know that balance is key. But Tyrone's life was not just about films. He was a romantic man, with complicated relationships full of joy and pain. He met French actress Annabella on the set of Suez in 1938 during a shoot by an artificial river, where they talked about dreams and life, leading to passionate love. They fell in love, even though Zanuck tried to separate them by threatening to send Annabella back to Europe if she did not leave his star alone. But Annabella refused, saying, "Zanuck cannot stop Tyrone from loving me or my love for Tyrone." And they married in 1939. The marriage was initially happy, but faced challenges from work pressure and war. Tyrone was once a famous playboy, dating Sonia Henney, the beautiful ice skater, Loretta Young, the serious Catholic star, Claire Trevor, Joan Woodbury, and Eve Abbott. There were rumors of him being gay from Scotty Bowers in his memoir, who claimed women adored him, and he bedded quite a few of them, but he preferred men. These rumors caused him distress, as society was discriminatory at the time and perhaps contributed to inner stress. But Annabella affirmed their love was sincere, and in an interview she said, "Both of us were very sad about it, but we knew we were drifting apart. I did not think then, and I do not think now, that it was his fault or mine." They divorced in 1948 after Tyrone returned from war. A sad but respectful end, I think. Tyrone's love reflected his personality, passionate but complex. And at your age, we understand that marriage needs patience and understanding, which Hollywood often takes away. Yes, the war, a heroic chapter in his life, where he proved he was not just a star but also a brave soldier. In 1942, Tyrone joined the U.S. Marine Corps. Even though he was at the peak of his career with blockbuster films, he had learned to fly since the late 1930s. With 180 solo flying hours, enough to join an accelerated training course. He completed officer candidate school at Quantico Base, boot camp at San Diego, and the flight program at Naval Air Station Corpus Christi, Texas. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant in 1943, then promoted to first lieutenant. Colleague Jerry Taylor praised him in the Marine Air Transporter magazine in 2001. He was an outstanding student, never forgetting a procedure I showed him or anything I told him. Other colleagues commented on the respect he received, because he was humble and committed. He flew cargo planes into combat zones like Okinawa and Iwo Jima, places full of danger with bombs, bullets, and bad weather. Although he did not engage in direct combat because the Marines thought he was too old, at age 30, he still made significant contributions to the war effort. He returned in 1946 with medals and pride, but also with mental scars from the war. I am moved thinking about this. A Hollywood star giving up glamour to serve his country, teaching us about patriotism and sacrifice. At your age, many have experienced war, and Tyrone is proof that heroes can come from anywhere. After the war, Tyrone wanted to challenge himself more, breaking away from the romantic image to explore depth. He starred in The Razor's Edge in 1946, based on W. Somerset Maugham's novel, playing Larry Darrell, a veteran seeking life's meaning through spiritual journeys in India and Paris. Alongside Gene Tierney, Ann Baxter, and Clifton Webb, the film received 6 Oscar nominations, and Tyrone was praised for his introspective acting, showing war pain and desire for peace. He once said this role was close to his personal experience, helping him heal war wounds. Then he chose a dark role in Nightmare Alley, in 1947, playing Stanton Carlyle, a carnival worker who becomes a fraudulent psychic, then descends into addiction and crime. Zanuck strongly opposed it, fearing it would destroy the romantic image. But Tyrone insisted, saying, "I am tired of night roles. I want something worthwhile." The film flopped at the box office, but is considered the best in his career. With dark scenes about greed and collapse, Zanuck was furious, pulling the film from circulation. But now it is a noir masterpiece, released on DVD in 2005 after legal battles. I think this role showed Tyrone's desire for authentic art, but also reflected internal conflicts with the Hollywood system, where commerce often overrides creativity. Personal life continued to be turbulent, full of short joys and long pains. After divorcing Annabella, he married Linda Christian in 1949 in Rome, a romantic wedding with hundreds of guests. They had 2 daughters, Romina Francesca in 1951, who later became a famous singer with Albano, and Taryn Stephanie in 1953, a talented actress. But the marriage faced challenges with 3 miscarriages, causing emotional pain, and eventually broke in 1955 due to infidelity. Linda admitted in her autobiography that she had an affair with Edmund Purdom, while Tyrone was accused of being unfaithful. Linda blamed his busy schedule, but both admitted faults. In 1958, he married Debbie Menardos on May 7th, a late romance full of hope, and she was pregnant with his son. Debbie was his final comfort, but tragedy struck before he could see his son born. I ponder, Tyrone's emotional life is proof of the fragility of happiness in Hollywood, where fame steals time for family, and rumors harm the spirit. Dear viewers, at our age, we know love requires effort, and Tyrone tried, even if he failed. Tyrone's final career was full of conflicts and creativity, as he grew tired of light roles and fought with Zanuck. He refused The Robe in 1953, a major biblical film, with the role going to Richard Burton because he did not want to repeat the night image. Zanuck suspended him, but Tyrone returned with more freedom. He made Mississippi Gambler in 1953 with Universal, a romantic western about river gambling, earning millions from revenue. He performed on stage in The Dark Is Light Enough in 1954 to 1955, Christopher Fry's poetic play set in Austria in 1848, touring 12 weeks in New York and Canada, where he showed emotional depth. Then The Devil's Disciple by Shaw in London in 1956, successful for 19 weeks at the Winter Garden with humorous and philosophical scenes. He returned to film with The Long Grey Line in 1955 for Columbia, directed by John Ford, playing Marty Marr, a West Point coach, an emotional role about loyalty. The Eddie Duchin Story in 1956, playing the famous pianist, a box office success with moving music scenes. Abandoned Ship in 1957, playing a captain facing moral choices at sea. The Sun Also Rises in 1957, based on Hemingway, playing Jake Barnes alongside Errol Flynn and Ava Gardner, exploring impotence and loss after war. Witness for the Prosecution in 1957, playing Leonard Vole in the Agatha Christie film, directed by Billy Wilder, with classic plot twists and outstanding acting alongside Marlene Dietrich. Robert Fulford praised Power's excellent performance as Shady, the relentless woman abuser. These roles showed Tyrone maturing, craving depth, but also weary from pressure. And then, tragedy struck suddenly, shocking the world. In September 1958, Tyrone went to Madrid and Valdespartera, Spain, to film Solomon and Sheba with Gina Lollobrigida, an epic film about King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, full of action and romance scenes. He smoked 3 to 4 packs of cigarettes a day, a habit from youth, combined with inherited heart disease from his father. Doctors warned about angina, advising rest and quitting smoking, but Tyrone ignored it, dedicating himself to the film, completing nearly 75% of the scenes. On November 15th, during an intense sword fight scene with George Sanders, his co-star and friend, he suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed. He died on the way to the Madrid hospital, the official cause being complete angina, a major heart attack due to blocked arteries. Debbie was by his side until the end, sobbing. After 66 years, the mystery is solved thanks to modern medicine. Genetic research in 2024 shows genes from his father, combined with smoking and stress, were the culprits. Newly released medical records show early signs like fatigue and chest pain, but he ignored them due to passion. This is a profound warning. Get regular heart checkups, quit smoking, listen to doctors, especially at your age, when heart disease is a silent killer. I am moved thinking that if he had listened, perhaps we would have more masterpieces. But life is like that, full of regrets. Tyrone left a huge legacy, a Hollywood legend with over 50 films, husband 3 times, father of 3 children, brave soldier. His son, Tyrone Jr., was born 2 months after his death, becoming an actor but living privately. Debbie continued her life, marrying Arthur Lowe Jr., but always remembering him. Tyrone is buried at Hollywood forever by a small lake with a marble bench-shaped tombstone, engraved with tragedy and comedy masks, along with the line, "Good night, sweet prince." His legacy lives through remastered films, biographies like Tyrone Power, The Last Idol, and fan clubs. His daughter Romina is a singer, Taryn an actress, continuing the artistic bloodline. Compared to Errol Flynn, Tyrone was cleaner despite both being action stars. With Clark Gable, both died of heart issues, but Tyrone was younger. He once donated his eyes for research, and his funeral had Laurence Olivier reading the poem High Flight. In 2008, a 50-year memorial with his children and colleagues, like Piper Laurie. Today, his films are on Blu-ray, and he teaches us to live fully but wisely. Dear viewers, Tyrone Power's story moves me deeply. He is a symbol of perseverance, but also a reminder of life's fragility. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for listening. See you in the next video. Wishing you abundant health.